Good morning, everyone. Hope that you all are doing well. Hope you're having probably better weather than I am right now. It is overcast, stormy, rainy. It is just a gray day, which, to be honest, I have no problem with. I actually kind of like rainy days, but what can you do? What we can do is listen to a little bit from Suede. We're going to listen to this track, The Asphalt World. This is coming off of the album Dog Man Star, which was released, I'm pulling it up, 1994, their second studio album. We're listening to this particular track because it was suggested and sponsored by Joe. So Joe, thank you so much for the recommendation. Thank you for the support. And this particular track had also been suggested by quite a few people. Benjamin Mitrofan Norris, Ziggy Cat, Race Phase, Benjamin, I see you again, and Race Phase, again from 3 years ago. I got you up here as well, so I appreciate you guys being here. Now, this album I have seen come up and up and up in comments and recommendations after we listened to their first album. I've seen a lot of commotions, not the word I want to use, but discussion about this album and how it's very good. And can I just tell you that looking at this track, at the timing of it, the duration, almost 10 minutes, it leaves me very curious. I love when I see a track, when I see a duration of a longer amount of time from a band that I don't expect it from. Like if we're listening to Yes, I see 10 minutes, I say, oh, that's like a single. If I see a 10-minute band or a 10-minute song from Suede or some other band, then I'm like, oh, what are we doing? So let's go ahead and find out what we're doing here with this particular track. I also see that it's the longest track here on the album as well. Let's go ahead and dive right in. I hope that you all are doing well. Here we go. They don't take much to get into it.
She comes to me, I supply her with ecstasy. Sometimes we ride in a taxi to the ends of the city, like big stars in the backseat, like skeletons of a soul pretty.
That's
I know it's her. She walks the asphalt road.
That's smooth.
But where does she go? And what does she do? And how does she feel when she's next to you? And who does she love? In time or afar? Is it me or her?
They hit a sort of 90s psychedelic sound with this. It sounds like the 60s but brought up to the 90s.
I know a girl. She walks the asphalt road.
Guitar has become livelier the second time around here.
She's not afraid. They share the sorrow I pretend. Sometimes they fly from the covers to the winter of the river. With these silent stars at the cinema, it's in the bloodstream, it's in the river. I know a girl.
Every time he says, I know a girl, it's like he grounds.
But where does she go? And what does she do? And how does she feel when she's next to you? And who does she love? In a time of the fire, is it
like constantly
Yes,
explosive.
both of us need.
Bass joining with that guitar line here. It's just a lush, euphoric sound. Kind of hitting what Pink Floyd would do. Dropout. Love when they start bringing it back. Waves. I thought the bass jumped out of here as well with the guitar. This is the bass. Wow.
I see her blood, and it's
Right back.
how does it feel when it's in your bed? And you're carrying her arms, and carrying her legs. Well, I'll be in her. 'Cause that's where I go.
Sorry.
That's what I do, and that's how it feels when the sex time's good. Yes, both of us need. This is the Asphalt.
This is coming near the end of the album, and this feels like the climax. This feels just like constant euphoria. This is a different Suede than we've heard in their debut. This is a different brand of them. And can I tell you, like, what they're doing here reminds me so much of the atmosphere and the build up, the pure bliss that they bring into the music that like Pink Floyd would do. And, you know, very renowned for, especially the way that Gilmour plays his guitar in those climactic moments that are just out of this world. They're hitting a very, very similar pathway here, and they're treading down that exact same direction. And I like how, like, when I'm looking at the lyrics, right, it tells me, like, verse, chorus, or whatever. Can I tell you, listening to it, I don't even hear a verse and a chorus. I just hear, I'm not trying to be like, overly poetic, but I don't even hear the verse and the chorus. It all just melts together in these waves of goodness, of bliss, of euphoria. The guitar playing, mixing with the organ and the different effects. It also is giving me a very kind of, hear me out, I mentioned it during the track, but a 60s psychedelic kind of sound. And obviously this is not the 60s, but if you were to take the 60s psychedelic sound and put that through a 90s music filter in this particular genre, I think that the sound that Suede are getting here is very much that sound. Because while I don't know the exact names of the effects, but you have that wavering guitar effect on there, and then you have a similar thing happening with the keyboards, and it kind of creates this kind of rippling effect in the music, and it creates these kind of interesting textures sonically in here. And then, like, they just wrap that up amazingly with the rhythm section. So, the way that Simon's playing on here, I could not help but play along with him on the drums and do my own thing, kind of. But it has that, like, big crashing down kind of sound, you know. Phil. Like, you can play around with that. And, you know, the way that the music, the melody wavers. There's leads that come out in the guitar, and then they kind of go back. There's dense layers of guitar happening here, along with the keyboards. Butler, sensational. He feels like the heart of this. He feels like he is the atmosphere. He is giving the atmosphere and the ambience and the playfulness in here. And Matt Osmond, great bass guitar. I love when the music comes back at the end, and his bass has such a presence in the music at that point. The guitar is on top of that, also leading out of that particular instrumental break. But when the bass comes in as well, it's almost like he's getting to solo. It's almost like the bass and the guitar are soloing at the same time, but at the same time, they're kind of harmonizing what they do. It's just really cool how they perform that. Brett Anderson on the vocals. His vocals are just the icing on this beautifully layered cake. I love how I would say they play into a mysterious psychedelic kind of angle in this track, and they are. I know I said like icing on the cake, but truly they feel like that top layer that just gives the cake that extra sweetness. That's exactly how I feel about his vocals. It's just that extra layer that just adds this extra what's that D word that's like sweetness? Not delectable. What's that? Decadent. Like a decadence on top of the music here. It's brilliant. Like, this is really cool to hear them. And when they move into that instrumental section, they break it down wonderfully. They literally drop out the music, and then they rebuild it from the back of the room forward. And I love when bands do that. It's just one of those things that I like in music, and they did it incredibly here. Now, as I'm pulling up the lyrics, I can't help but see this right here. I can't help but see this. This song caused a clash between Suede singer Brett Anderson and Bernard Butler. The latter wanted this song to be longer with a 20-minute guitar solo in the middle. Can you imagine? Ed Bueller, the producer of the album, didn't agree, and finally Butler left the band at the end of the recording. Wow. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's genuinely talk about this. Could the song, and I want to know your thoughts. Obviously, we don't know what the song would have sounded like as a 20-minute guitar solo. Would the song have, in your opinion, been better or worse? And obviously, we don't know what that alternative sounded like. We only have this version to go off of. But I can see it both ways. Because, can I tell you, I think that middle section especially could have gone on longer. Seeing that, I think that it could have gone on longer. And this hit almost 10 minutes. Honestly, I think you could probably extended that middle section and added in a few more, probably going to 15. Would 20 minutes have been too much? Part of me says perhaps. Part of me says yes. I think maybe 20 minutes of just that may be too much. Of course, we don't know how they would have approached it. But like if it's strictly, he didn't say a 20-minute song. He said a 20-minute solo in the middle, which means that the song would have been even longer. Could it have maybe outstayed its welcome? I don't know. I do think that the middle could have been extended, though. I will say that. I think this could have been a 15-minute easily. I know a girl, she walks the asphalt world. She comes to me, I supply her with ecstasy. Sometimes we ride in a taxi to the ends of the city, like big stars in the back seat, like skeletons ever so pretty. So I think she walks in the real world and he gives her ecstasy, maybe literally or not. I'm thinking more metaphorically. And she's able to lift off, not belong to the real world. Just get a little high for a moment. Get off the real world. But where does she go and what does she do? And how does she feel when she's next to you? And who does she love in her time-honored fur? Is it me or is it her? Who does she love? Does she love me only for what I give her and what I supply her with? Or is she in love with herself? In some sort of selfish way, perhaps. I know a girl, she walks the asphalt world. She's got a friend, they share mascara. I pretend. Sometimes they fly from the covers to the winter of the river. For these silent stars of the cinema, it's in the bloodstream, it's in the liver. I know a girl, she walks the Asphalt world. Okay. All right, I like the little change there. Does this mean that sometimes she lands flat on her bum? Is that what is referencing there, perhaps? These silent stars of cinema. Is this friend an actress? Maybe someone taken advantage of in some capacity? Or maybe not. Maybe he's being taken advantage of. Where does she go? What does she do? How does she feel when she's next to you? With ice in her blood and a dove in her head, like peace in her head, I would think. Well, how does she feel when she's in your bed? When you're there in her arms and there in her legs, well, I'll be in her head, because that's where I go and that's what I do. And that's how it feels when the sex turns cruel. Yes, both of us need her. This is the asphalt world. Both of us need her. Who's both of us? Thoughts and thoughts and thoughts. Ice in her blood, a dove in her head. Coming with peaceful thoughts, but her blood is cold, so to speak. And even in a position where there should be some sort of warmth and intimacy, he doesn't get that from her exactly. And so it almost feels cruel. It almost feels like an act of indifference. He's wanting more, but she's not quite giving that. Allow me to click this. Dove is a nickname for the drug ecstasy. Didn't know that. Okay. I'll be in her head. He also says a dove in her head. Could these be two things in one, basically? So the ecstasy in her head, okay. She has this ecstasy in her head. They're doing their thing. And then he says, I'll be in her head. Well, you're only in her head because you're supplying her. But perhaps, but you're using each other. That's what, you know what? That's what I'm getting down to. I think they're just using each other. And perhaps, he says that she walks the asphalt world and this is her way of escaping. Brother, seems like you could also perhaps be symbolically walking this asphalt world, and this is your way of escaping through her. That's what I'm thinking. I'm looking at some information to see if there's any info on this particular track on the album. There's a lot of info on the album itself. I guess I promise you I don't look in here that deep before we dive into. So the longest song is influenced by Pink Floyd. I promise you I did not. I promise you I did not look at that. What a cool song. What a really cool song and a great use of the time and the duration. Now, I want to know, what do you think? Do you think that a 20-minute guitar solo may have been maybe a bit too much? And listen, it probably wouldn't have been like a straight only guitar solo and no one else getting to do anything besides just providing backing. It may have been a little much. Maybe. But I do think the track could have been given a little bit more depth. Not depth. The track is great, but I do think that middle section could have been expanded into something even more in that case. I'm curious to know what you guys think. What do you think about that? Drop those thoughts in the comments below. Thank you guys for the recommendation. Joe, thank you so much for the support as well. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And I will see you all later. Bye.